had a dream, to see the world, to make some money, to have a good living, a normal standard thing that everybody in life would like to achieve. So, as a young person, early graduate in early 20s, I thought, okay, how can I make it happen? At those times, we are talking about the mid 2000s, there was no way that you could get a job in Ukraine and travel the world because the numbers simply would not work that way. So I started reading many things and trying to see how can I achieve the way that you can travel and work at the same time, right? So I found an article written by Steve Pavlina, which is called 10 Reasons Never to Get a Job. This is over probably 20-year-old article at the moment. You can also check it out. And the main idea behind it is not that you should not get a job and be lazy, but he was telling that getting a proper job is probably not the best way to do in your life if you want to aim for something more. There are side hustles, there are businesses, and so on. Luckily, now, in 2024, it is possible to get a good remote job and travel the world, but that was not the case in late 2000s. However, I still recommend you to refer to this article, take a read, and understand the perspective, how things actually changed in the last 20 years in the tech world and in our life in general. So something clicked in my head when I read this, and I thought, okay, I need to make some kind of my own business where I will be responsible for the results financially and life-wise. And as being a law graduate who already traveled a little bit by then, by the end of the university, I visited over 30 countries, predominantly in Europe, knowing English, I thought, well, okay, let me try to put all these things together. So I founded a website called ukrainetravelsecrets.com. We are talking about 2011, which was half a year before European Football Championship was held in Ukraine and Poland. And maybe it was a luck, maybe it was a pure calculation, but things worked very well because there was a big demand of information online. There was a market, people were coming to Ukraine, there was a football championship, and basically the business model became very simple. It was a niche content platform blog, which was attracting users and basically providing a standard travel services. In every niche online, you can do pretty much the same stuff by doing content, SEO, and offering a genuine service for your work. So things were fine. And basically, starting in 2012, I already making enough money to be able to conduct my professional services in Ukraine during the summer, which is a tourist season, and then basically flying away for warmer destinations in winter. We are talking about leaving Europe around October and coming back by Easter when all the family meets and when the nature, comes back to life. So those would be an examples how I traveled together with my wife, girlfriend back then, Marta. Marta is over here, by the way, together with me. So as you can see, there was one base in my native home city, Lviv, in Ukraine, and we were doing this long, extended, first backpacking and then a little bit on a different level trips. So here you can see Southeast Asia, South America, Central America, a bunch of countries in East Asia, Europe, Middle East, and East Africa. So many of you and many digital nomads actually start this way. They start from the backpacking trips in a budget-friendly destination, making it a slow travel, and then expand their geography if they want to explore more. So this was the style for a couple of years. We're talking about the online niche project, which is location not independent, but you can still do it online if you produce content. Then you conduct service in particular geography, and when the season is low, you just fly away and prepare for the next summer season. And then in 2014, as you know, Russia attacked Ukraine first time. People actually forget about this after 2022, but the actual war and invasion started in 2014 with annexation of Crimea and opening a full-scale war in the east of Donbas, which basically means stopping tourism in my country and drowning my business down to zero. What are you going to do? By that time, I already had enough marketing and business skills to understand how things work online. And also there was some kind of renaissance of Ukrainian ideas, movements, and in general, the entire like atmosphere in this way, a lifestyle Ukrainian language blog with the name openmind.com.ua. It was another let's say like a niche, very niche project in Ukrainian language about travel, about the niche of lifestyle in general, which started to pick up, and there was the entire audience building up around it. At one point, I even received a feedback from Tim Ferriss. Most of you know Tim Ferriss. He's actually the father of digital nomads. And when I already was living this life for a couple of years, the digital nomad topic started to appear more and more in our life. So then when I was reading the ways that digital nomads actually describe about working from your laptop, travel the world, connect with your peers, I thought look at this. This actually what I'm doing already for a few years. And another niche started to appear, now the term digital nomad is the entire industry on itself. Why don't I move this lifestyle blog, which was mostly based on the business model of coaching, selling e-products, advertisement because of the audience, and everything around you have the content space, into something more meaningful where you could build more interactions with people, produce more value, and obviously make more money. So I started the Digital Nomad membership platform for Ukrainian travelers. And the main business model was a subscription. Once you start having the recurring subscription, things change in your business and it changes in your life. Because eventually you start having more time to invest into the future development. You can hire a team, you can budget things up front, and so on. And basically the things work. Once you have a few hundreds of clients who will pay you a few tens of euros, it's a nice income, a nice business model, which actually can help you put things together, doing the things that you believe in, develop your business, and obviously continue the life that you deserve by working hard for that. So my travel style also changed by then. If you compare, previously, together with my wife, we were traveling, usually having a base at one point in summer, and then having these big chunks of travel by visiting a few countries within one region. Since I was running away of regions that you could, have a base in some Bangkok area or Buenos Aires and travel around, I started to be more selective with my travels. At the same time, during 2016-17, the airline connection improved a lot from Ukraine to the rest of the world. Ukrainian passport became much stronger. And this would be an example of my travel 2019, where you can see separated trips to Ecuador, West Africa, all around Europe, Middle East, South Africa, Nepal, and so on. So those would be a different way, because I already had a small remote office in my native city, and then I would simply do work fast, set tasks for the team, travel to one destination, completely going remote or offline for let's say 2 or 3 weeks, coming back, focus on another deadline, and continue this way. The life, as you can imagine, was great. We were happily living in our own city, conducting things, traveling around the world, and I would wish this for everyone. But I would not wish this to everyone, because in 2022, Russia again invaded full scale to Ukraine, which basically meant the entire economy shrinking down. And out of my pool of clients, third had to flee their homes, third lost their means of income, And another third somehow was keeping up. In my own perspective, I could not deal with marketing, finances, sales anymore, and conducting things business-wise as usual. I enrolled as becoming a war reporter and spent a couple of months in the eastern front lines of Ukraine, actually doing what I knew before from the blogging content perspective, but in the English language, to attract more attention, more aid, and build more connections between Ukraine and the rest of the free world, which basically raised awareness about our team activities in the global sphere, in the English language. And as you could imagine, this also opened a few new doors to new opportunities. Since I started having so many connections with different organizations from all around the world, having a business mindset and opportunistic approach and some skills which are required to run remote companies, I was offered a partnership in Nomad, which eventually became a new venture. This is my partner, Harry Mitsidis. He is the most traveled man on earth. He visited every country in the world twice. So we developed Nomad, which is a travel tech company, and basically also recently launched an app which basically helps people to discover the world, to map their travels, track and plan their trips, and what's the most important, connect travelers all around the world. So check it out if you will have time. Obviously, this is a much different and more difficult project than everything I've been doing before, but if you layer down your skills from life previously, things have to develop in a constructive way. And once you settled your, let's say, business goals, some life basic necessities are covered, you also, it's important to think about the impact mission you can do. So an example would be, and now whenever I travel around the world, I try to visit different crisis zones to build a connection with them and to tell to the world their stories. 1 month ago, I was in Syria. We started tourism activities in Syria, actually, to help local communities thrive. Another picture is from Rohingya refugee camp, which is the largest refugee camp in the world, based in Bangladesh, where the entire nation had to flee from neighboring Myanmar, which is going through the civil war. I also visited Myanmar to understand how things are happening there. My wife, also in the picture here, who is present in this room, is doing the international cultural diplomatic relations, kind of building bridge between such countries like Taiwan, Ukraine, Croatia, Japan, and so on. Nomad was the first organization that organized, let's say, travelers, non-diplomatic and non-journalism and non-aid organization trips to Ukraine, and we became the first that we tested the memory route around Kyiv, where the war crimes happened. So basically, once you connect technology, scale, access to audience, and trust of the community, you can make a really great stuff. And I know that among speakers here, there are many really great social entrepreneurs who do a lot in the digital nomad sphere. So to summarize, I feel I lived through this period from a person who didn't know what to do with his life in the early 20s, starting as a backpacker, making a buck, going through different challenges, and slowly raising this bar higher and higher without actually willing to stop anytime soon. I don't know where the life will bring me. If I look back, it was like a real roller coaster, but I mean, what else, in the end of your life, if you would like to think like, how would I write the book of my life? It feels like this is something worthy you did. For those of you who are at the beginning of the journey or some in the middle, it's a very relative graph, but I would say that, there is a digital nomad journey. People usually start from something small and then they continue. So I would say that once you start having at least $1,000 per month, I know it's a very low bar, but it's already possible to travel. Like in 2012-13, we were spending $1,000 per month with my wife to hang out for 5 months in Southeast Asia. And that's fine, and then the more money you make, the more freedom it gets you. That's a pretty simple relation, I would say. So basically, yeah, continue working in that direction, and with more opportunities, obviously, the more options you start having in your life and the more impact you can make in general. This is another interesting map, which is the cost of living index, and the darker green the button is reflects to the city where you would, can start living relatively cheap, and then obviously this level goes up. So this is very organic, and it also traces the path and the hubs of digital nomads, where you can see Southeast Asia, Indian subcontinent, parts of Central and South America, Eastern Europe, and then it goes on and goes on. So I advise anyone to continue simply raising this bar, and the more opportunities, the more windows will appear in your life. But something that is very important is that I figured it out so many times already that happiness doesn't make any sense if you don't have anything to share it with. Obviously, it resonates to your life partner, to your couple, but also to the community around you and the friends. That's why probably most of you are here, and Nomad Bansko Fest is Bansko Nomad Fest, an amazing place to make meaningful connections. So yeah, just think how you can make the best of it. And I also was doing like a big research on digital nomads like 3 years ago, where like over 1,000 nomads actually responded on the different challenges they have in their life and business-wise. And apart from financial side and some psychological, like the belonging to the community was one of the biggest ones, right? So we are all social creatures, and it's obviously important to be able to interact in this kind of manner. So guys, great to see you all here. Make use the best of Bansko Nomad Fest, and I'm pretty sure that many more meaningful projects, connections will appear during and as the outcome of this amazing festival. I'm super happy to be here, happy to connect. Easy to find me, Orest Zub, everywhere online. Whenever, if you work in some travel tech industry or you present for an organization, we at Nomad Mania will be happy to also cooperate. Thank you very much.